It's Brian DeMar, and welcome to Sunday Dinner, the last Sunday of every month, where we take a look at what the successful people are reading and why. Good evening, good afternoon, and good night to all the artisans and humans out there. I want to say thank you for showing up to this very, very special revamped edition of Sunday Dinner. Tonight, I have a very, very special guest with me here in the studio. His name is Kareem Fort. He is representing the brand of Beyond the Smoke cigars. As you can see, I've already fired up a nice, fine cigar. If you want to do a little bit of the talk and introduce yourself about, the cigar that you've given me.
Well, first of all, I want to say that we're smoking the Dapper brand tonight. Okay, this is called a Cuba Claro. It's a Toro cigar.
This is very nice. I'm actually hitting it for the first time, and it's very smooth. It's very light and easy, and that's part of what your brand represents, right? Knowledge about cigars and educating novice folk about the cigar culture.
Sure.
For those who don't know, Kareem Fort is also a documentarian. He is co-founder of Hypnot Records. He's also a recording artist and recording producer. That was back in the day, but I'm sure he can tell you some stories about that. And also founder of Cypher Lounge Radio. So that's a lot of facets. So this man here has done a lot of things. Talk about your time as a recording artist slash producer.
Whoa. Well, I mean, the recording artist piece of my life started, man, you're talking about elementary school, right? We're talking about 7th grade. I want to say junior high is when I first started, dabbling into hip hop as far as a recording artist. I mean, that's what it was. You know what I mean? You want to be somebody, you always looking to, either in sports or music. I still think that still rings true today. You know what I mean? But at that time for me, hip hop really was a big part of my life growing up, here as we're sitting here in Orange County, growing up in Santa Ana, you know what I mean? And just really being consumed with the music and just being able to connect with it on a deeper level. And I said, let me try my hand at this. You know what I mean? Because I started off writing poetry. Mm-hmm. So poetry naturally just progressed into, trying to rap and trying to do that. You know what I mean? And just having those big dreams of being a huge rapper. So, that lasted for actually quite a while. I ended up forming a group and then doing things like that, performing around the city, things of that nature. So, I mean, there was just a thing to do at that time.
And you've got some producing chops as well. I don't imagine you're behind the boards creating music, but you do play the producer role.
Sure.
How does that work?
When you're producing, it's not just being able to play an instrument or sitting down at, MPC, whatever like that. It's really an extension of what I do now, right? It's kind of the foundation of what I do now. So really just being able to put pieces together. You're really just having an idea and being able to make that idea come to fruition.
So that's similar to the effects or to the end game of your documentary career. You had an idea, and you saw it to fruition. If you don't know, this man did it with little to no money.
Yeah.
Now, how did that work, and how much time did you have to spend making a documentary with on a limited budget?
I want to say 2010. Kevin Nottingham started an online label, right? Mm-hmm. And I was his partner at the time.
Kevin Nottingham.
Yeah, okay. He was a popular blogger. And this is when blogs was really popping,
gotcha.
Right? And so he had this idea to start a digital record company. He and I had worked together before because at the time, fast forwarding again from being an artist,
right.
I was a managing artist.
Ah.
So he and I developed a relationship because I was sending him a lot of my material. He would post it on his site. Long story short, he decided, hey, I have this idea, start, one of the first digital record labels, and I want you to be a partner with me, help me get it off the ground. We just, kind of went back and forth, put our heads together. Fast forward a little past that, I said, man, because I'm in this position at this label, I started getting a lot of inquiries about how can I get put on? How could I, do this? How could I do that? I'm an independent artist, whatever.
Right.
And so I had this idea, and I was like, man, what would be cool is if there was some type of book, some type of manual, right, of how you could become successful and still be independent. Because at the time, that was kind of the the thing, because the internet was really popping and people were really making success, or having success rather,
Right.
without the advantage of having a record label. They were able to be entrepreneurs in their own right,
Yeah.
use the internet to their advantage, and create something special and viable for themselves.
Right.
So I said, well, instead of creating a book, that'll be dope if we, put it on film. Why not just do a movie? And at the time, Kevin was not very receptive to it. He just thought it was a little bit too ambitious. How are you gonna come up with a movie? You've never done a movie before.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, all you use a camera. So I said, well, let me get a guy with a camera, and let's go out and let's start interviewing people that have done this,
Right.
or that have an opinion about it. So I just started. That's where everything started to snowball, right?
Right.
So I got with my partner Hassan at the time. Shout out to Hassan, and we just started hitting the pavement.
Yeah.
And getting these interviews, and one interview led to another interview.
Right.
And the law of attraction started to kick in.
Right.
And things of this nature. So we ended up getting interviews with DJ Quick, with Black Thought from The Roots,
Shout out to the Roots.
Mac 10 at the time.
West Side.
It was, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Talib Kweli and others.
Wow.
So we ended up, just kind of utilizing our resources at the time. Next thing you know, it was a process. This process took like 3 years to complete.
3 years. Wow.
Right? So after 3 years, we had a finished product, and we ended up getting distribution for it and things of that nature, and we toured with it, and there you go. How we did it with no money,
Yeah. That's where we want to get back to.
it starts with passion.
Okay.
You have to have a genuine passion to do something.
Got you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then you try to have somewhat of a plan, even if it's a loose plan. Because being here in LA, in the position that I was in, I understood that, okay, we don't have money,
Right.
but we did have resources.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times your resources are much more valuable than money.
That brings me to the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. There's a story about a man named Arcad. Arcad is known to be the richest man in Babylon. And he holds a class for the men in the city to teach them how to become the richest man in Babylon. Now, if you switch out money for resources and say you're Arcad, what would you tell me of my resources? Like, how would I capitalize?
In my case, I'm thinking, okay, you have to look what's around you. What do you have that's right in front of you? A lot of people, they always focus on the big picture, which is great, but you also have to look at your surroundings. When you're trying to do something independently, you need players, right? First of all, you have to be able to explain your vision, and you have to be able to convey that vision to people who you can utilize. You have to create a team of people that you can trust that share that same vision, right? So once you have it clear in your head, you have to utilize the people that are around your immediate circle. Say, hey, this is my idea. This is how I plan on executing that idea, and this is the role that I want you to play. Like we're referencing the richest man in Babylon.
Yes.
One of his things or parables in the story, in the book rather, is he says you have to go to people who specialize in certain things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what I did. If I knew somebody who had a camera and say was going to film school and say, hey, I needed some work. Okay, I can use you for this. Here's my vision.
What's the name of the documentary? Demos. You created demos.
Yeah.
You put it out there for the people as a resource.
Sure.
So that's an awesome move, and you did it with little to no money. Now you said a shout out to your man Hassan.
Yeah.
Now in my research, he was the host of Cypher Lounge Radio that you started.
Yeah.
Why did you start a radio show?
Hassan was an artist that I was managing at the time. Okay, and I started to get into different things and started to kind of move into different arenas outside of management. And because his particular, I know his personality.
Yeah.
All right. And so I said, wow, it'll be cool if I can get his voice out there. Even if it wasn't through music, I knew he had so much more to offer. So in that particular time, I was like, man, I sat down with him. I said, listen, bro, I got this idea. This is before podcasts were really popping.
Yes, I do remember.
I said, I have this idea that for you to do a radio show. Okay. And I was managing 2 artists at the time. So it was Hassan and Dasha.
Okay.
Right. So I said, it'd be cool if you guys linked up and do like a radio show. And, they thought it was a great idea. We started brainstorming, coming up with the concept of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Blog Talk Radio is the
Talk.
platform that we had utilized.
I remember.
And we started getting to work on it. And this was, like I said, this was before podcast was popping. I was going back and forth with HP. I was like, Hassan, listen, man, we should pre-record these episodes and then put them out later. He was against it. So we kind of went with his plan was to go live.
Right.
And it ended up working very well for quite some time. And they got a lot of notoriety for it. And Cypher Lounge Radio was born out of that. And it was a brand that I was very proud of. Very proud of.
Let's switch gears real quick. All right. So you have a documentary under your belt. You know how to grind and get interviews and speak to people. So it looks like you're into some sort of education of people. And we're sitting here with these fine cigars.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you in these cigars? Because I know you have something, another web series that you're producing.
You know, it's a real coincidence that probably one of my favorite cigars is the Padron 1926. You know what I mean? And it just so happens that, you know, we're discussing The Richest Man in Babylon. So that book was actually originally published in 1926. So,
Ain't that a coincidence right
Yeah,
there? So
so-
that's connection right there.
always connection, man.
It's meant to be.
Yep. So, I mean, you know, Cypher Lounge Radio was great, and it's no longer in existence now. And then I just moved on to the next thing, again, which was the documentary. And then from the documentary, I took some time.
Okay.
I'd always found myself smoking a cigar. I've been smoking cigars forever. 20 years now, right?
Right.
And so I was just out there, you know, on my cell phone and, you know, filming myself and talking about that particular cigar I was smoking at the time.
Yeah.
And my youngest brother, you know, Marcus, was like, man, you know, you should probably do something with that. You know what I mean? You're talking about cigars, you're smoking cigars. That'd be cool if you did like a review or some type of show of that nature.
Yeah.
And I've never, you know, proclaimed to be an expert about cigars, but I do love to, you know, to smoke a cigar from time to time. So I just started toying around with the idea and looking at the landscape of people who do cigar reviews or cigar shows or whatever, and I found that there was a big void
Yes.
there. And I said,
Yes.
well, you know, I can really put a spin on this and really create something special. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't too concerned about the cigar itself, but more about the activity and the lifestyle surrounding the cigar. So I just came up with the name Beyond the Smoke.
I've actually viewed every single episode. I'm very familiar with your format, and I love it, you know, because it gives me a chance to hear a good conversation that has a lot of good points about life and just quality, everything. You know, you can translate it across the board, and I appreciate you for that. Applaud you for that part.
Yeah, thank you.
What's new? What's next for Beyond the Smoke?
So when I went into Beyond the Smoke, it's like there's really no end to it. So I'm developing it. I'm getting my legs underneath me. I kind of have found my space. You know what I mean? I know exactly where I want to go with it. And really, there's no limits.
Right.
Right? There's no limits. So
None.
you never know who I'm going to interview. I'm more interested in the person behind the cigar.
Okay.
I'm more interested in somebody's journey.
Right.
Right? Because this is an equalizer.
I've heard that.
And what I mean by that, when you hear that, is that you never know who you're talking to first and foremost, but this puts us on the same platform.
Yes.
I've sat down with millionaires. I've sat down with people who work a 9 to 5, making $10 an hour.
Right.
But we, you know, that commonality is there. You know, when we're smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
it's just me and that person, and we find that we do have this in common. You know what I mean? This is my downtime. Like when I'm smoking a cigar, it's my time to think. It's my time to just relax. I'm having a good time, or it's a celebratory, activity. Some of the greatest conversations, some of the best meetings that I've had have been over a cigar.
I've heard you use the word challenge a few times already. It sounds like you're up for a good challenge.
Yeah.
Is that what Beyond the Smoke, the marketing, the branding of it, the reaching out to various owners and breaking down barriers, getting outside your comfort zone?
Yeah.
Is that a challenge for you?
Yeah.
Doing the production part of it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a challenge to me, man, because, I come from doing projects where I'm behind the scenes. When I was talking about managing artists,
Yeah.
I'm not in the front. They're in the front. I'm pushing them. So I got very comfortable with being behind the camera, writing treatments and writing songs and things of that nature. I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So just for me to be in front of the camera was a challenge in itself. Okay. I'm just now getting my feet wet in that and getting comfortable being in front of the camera. So That's the challenge right there. But there's always a challenge. There's always, something new. I always look at the landscape of whatever thing I'm trying to get into, and I'm gonna say, how can I fill that void?
There is a chapter in the book, chapter 20, about lending gold, money lending. There's a character named Rodin, and he's a spear maker, and he ends up selling the spears for 50 pieces of gold. Now, he says, I got 50 pieces of gold. I need to do something with this gold. I can help people, or I can get my family straight. But also there's an issue with his sister, and her husband is sick, and he needs the money. Now, fast forward, he goes to a money lender for advice on what he should do with his money. Now, if you were the money lender, you're the confident guy, you're the guy in the front seat, what would you tell the man who just came into some money to do with it? If you had a situation where someone I know really wants my money.
Yeah. Well, just like in the book, Richest Man in Babylon, right? What ends up happening in that book is, his advice to him would be the same advice I would give. You know what I'm saying? It's like, take care of yourself first. You know what I mean? And every time that you get something, people always start to come in your circle.
Yes.
When you come up on something, wanting to get something from you.
Yes.
So you have to be very wise about that, because you don't want to end up hurting yourself trying to help somebody else. So I would give them the same advice.
Very sound, very sage advice. Now, you've done documentaries, albums. You've even introduced Wax and Nobody Famous, who made a platinum-selling record. I'm going to say that's due to you, because you did kind of but you did kind of find Wax, Diamond in the Rough.
See, I wouldn't...
And you already had Nobody Famous, who was a music producer, in your back pocket. So I would say that's a bringing together of resources. That was a wise investment, would you say?
I would say that. Now, I want to clarify something, because people say this to me all the time for some reason or other. I got this a few times, actually, about me discovering Wax. I didn't discover Wax. Wax was doing his thing. I came across Wax online, and I just knew that he was something special. So, and I learned that he was in LA at the time when I came across him, and I made it a point to go meet him and see him, because I knew he would be a good fit for the producer that I was managing at the time. And much respect to one of my good friends now, Reggie, who also goes by Nobody Famous. He's a producer, right?
Yes.
Really good guy. One of my best friends today.
Shout out to Nobody Famous.
Yeah, what's up, Reg? And so I just, I thought they would be a good fit, right? So we had did some records before that particular record that popped off, but Reggie was just sending me, tracks. Like, I'm thinking about sending this over to Mike. Mike, his name is Wax, but I call him Mike. His real name is Mike. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I was just kind of going through some of the stuff he was sending me, and he was sending them tracks. And one in particular that he did, I just knew it would pop off. And sure enough, Wax had really dug that song. Long story short, he recorded it, and it became a big hit overseas.
Why? Why are you doing any of this? Why make a documentary? Why get involved when you can just like the music?
Brian, like, my motivation comes from my family. You see what I mean? I got 2 little boys.
Yeah.
That's my motivation. Anything that I do, they are my foundation. They are the reason why I try to do everything that I can. But it's also about being creative. I'm a creative. I'm a creator. So I have to create.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in this point in my life, it has to be a natural thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It can't be a forced thing. Music came natural to me. Cigars are natural to me. Beyond the Smoke is natural to me. So I'm not going to force anything. I'm never going to force anything.
You believe in the law of attraction?
1,000%.
1,000%.
Because
what has that law? Where can you name a couple of instances where the law has really taken hold?
Demos documentary. Okay, I am at UCLA Jazz Fest with my family. My wife's aunt is also there. The Roots are performing. The Roots are my favorite hip hop group of all time.
Right.
Black Thought, right? The lead rapper for the group.
We all love Black Thought. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My favorite artist. And while we're there, she's like, yeah, I know that guy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of listening, I'm not listening, and I'm like, wait a minute, you say you know who, right? Who do you know? Oh, the guy, that guy, hear him right there. She's pointing to the stage. And I'm like, Black Thought. Oh, yeah, my best friend, that's her husband. And this is at the time I'm doing demos. So, and I'm actually there. I'm there with Hassan. Hassan is a producer on demos with me.
Wow.
The artist that I managed, Hassan, was also a producer on
your
demos.
documentary, okay.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at Hassan. He's looking at me, and I'm like, the wildest dream would be to get Black Thought in the demos, right? An interview with him. So of course, I say, well, can you hook me up? How can we make this happen? Long story short, she speaks to his wife via me. I'll get word to him about see if he'll do an interview. I am praying that I get an interview with him, and I would do anything I can to get an interview with him. Mind you, he lives on the East Coast. True. I'm in LA.
True.
Okay, money is funny at the time. Okay, but I do get the green light. His wife refers back to my wife's aunt, saying, "Yeah, he said he'll do the interview." So me and Hassan are through the roof. We can get an interview with Black Thought.
Wow.
But you got to come to New York. At the time, he had just started working on Fallon.
Ah, yes.
So you got to go to New York if you're going to get the interview. So at the time, we were like, oh my goodness, how are we going to get flights, hotel? How are we going to pay for this? We're going to make a way. So we made a way. I don't remember how we made a way, but we made a way.
But the Law of Attraction brought you the
right.
biggest name.
Oh, yeah. And we're on the plane.
On a matter of circumstance, and it was a family member.
You just don't know. Law of Attraction. We wanted it so bad. Then we ended up getting it. He was great. We're at Fallon getting the interview. He did one of his very first raps for us on camera.
Really?
Very hospitable. Man.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah, man. Law of Attraction. The whole film ended up happening by Law of Attraction. One thing led to another. Absolutely.
Is it still available? Can people still find
it
anywhere?
I'm sure you can probably find it on Amazon or, just Google it. I'm sure it's out there.
You've put out how many episodes now for Beyond the Smoke within a year?
So far, we've put out probably 6 or 7 episodes. I'm not quite sure. 6 or 7. So I have to be more consistent with that. But
this is an independent, not studio ordered. This is just you hustling up names.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I watched all of them. You had Bird the Bailiff on there.
Yeah.
Tell me how that came about. Tell me how you found Bird the Bailiff.
I have to give another shout out to Desi, man. Again, my wife's aunt. Hooked that one up. She works in TV. She works for...
She's a resource.
Judge Lynn Taller, right? So she happened to know Bird, and I was like, man, that'd be cool. And I knew that Bird smoked, and I thought he'd be a great guest to have on the show. She hooked me up with him. I met him, had several conversations with him. He agreed to do an interview, for me. So we ended up going to his house in North Hollywood and having a great interview.
If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, Beyond the Smoke, look up that episode. The interesting thing about that one is Bird didn't smoke a cigar.
No, he smokes a pipe.
No, why? Did he explain why? Tell me a little bit about why he decided to smoke a pipe.
That was just his thing. He just preferred a pipe. I think that worked well because he had his own preferred method of smoking, and I had mine, and it's just a personal preference.
Tell me about Michelle, Maisha Michelle.
Yeah.
She is the founder of Sisters of the Leaf.
Yeah.
Tell me how that relationship formed and where it's going.
Oh man, I was looking for women to interview, so I was online doing some research. Somebody said, "Hey, you need to interview this person over here." So I reached out to her. When we started to converse, it was just automatic. She was just ended up being like a friend, that I had known for like 20 years. So I want to say a big shout out to my sister, Maisha Michelle. She's a founder of Sisters of the Leaf of Southern California. We share a lot of the same philosophies when it comes to cigars. She's very, very talented, very well versed. And now we work closely on Beyond the Smoke.
She has an episode on Beyond the Smoke. I watched it.
Yeah.
She is really about women in the smoking culture.
She teaches me a lot.
Right.
I'm constantly in a mode of learning. So she's been great. She's been awesome, and I'm glad to to have her a part of the team.
It seems like you've got that classic adage not to be the smartest guy in the room, but you've made it a point to be in the presence of people that are smarter, are more influential, 100%. And you seem to draw from them.
I'm always in the space of learning. You know what I mean? Most people would probably tell you that I'm just the more reserved person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm Mr. Laid Back, but what I'm doing is I'm soaking up people's energy. I'm listening, and I'm learning.
Beyond the Smoke is a good conversation over great cigars.
That's the show.
That's the show.
That's the show.
Tell me about your first cigar experience.
Ooh, that's interesting because that's what I asked all my
Yeah,
interviewees.
I want to put you on the other side of this right now. Give me your first experience.
You know what? My first cigar was through our good friend Richie. You know, and it was Oil de Monterey, Excalibur. And
wow,
this was,
you know the
oh,
brand
I
and
never
everything.
forget it, man. He's like, oh man, you need to smoke one of these.
Yeah,
You gotta get one of these.
That's the kind of guy he is. Yes.
So
yes.
I was like, so shout out to Big Rich for that because now I'm here, you know, with Beyond the Smoke. But this was, I want to say this was like 98.
man, what?
97, 98.
That's like 20 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
Obviously, you have networked with a lot of people. Have people tried to pull your expertise into what they're doing?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I always use people for, you know, a resource.
Are
know,
are you sitting on the board, or are you co-founder of anything else other than what we've spoken about? Or is you anything else products that we can see coming from you?
a lot of stuff that I'm into right now. I got you know, a mini documentary coming up. I told myself that I would never do another documentary. That I'm done with documentary, you know, filmmaking, because that was just a real daunting experience.
Usually, when you tell yourself you're never gonna do something again,
Yeah,
that's probably
But
the next thing
know,
you're gonna do.
You know, this one will be about cigars. So this is about the cigar culture in Los Angeles. Summer it'll be done. It'll be directed by my guy Anthony Dupree, who does all my episodes for Beyond the Smoke. So he'll be directing and editing that.
Okay.
So we're just starting getting our heads wrapped around the concept and pre-producing that. But I'm also involved with Goat. Grooming Oils and Tamers. Shout out to my partner, Mark Brown,
Yes, sir.
who's developing a great product, primarily surrounding beards.
Yes.
So all natural product. So I'm a partner in that, and that's getting ready to launch soon as well.
Man, so you're just not gonna stop.
I can't, man.
There's nothing that's going to. Is there anything, any accomplishment, any goal that you can say that's it, that's the one?
Well, I mean, you know, I think I have the same goal as anybody else, right? I want to do what I love and what I'm passionate about for a living.
Right.
And I'm working on that. You know, I have a passion for cigars. I have a passion for building brands
Yes.
from the ground up. And I know and understand that that's a process. And I understand that process. So there's patience that has to be implemented in that. When you have a vision and you see it, you see the whole thing, you see it from beginning to end, you want it now.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to understand that everything is a process. Everything is a process.
Everything's a
So
process.
I'm learning that there's a process. So I'm just, you know, taking it step by step and building it as I go.
And I see you came through with the Pally wine.
Yeah.
They're associated with you as well.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, for those who don't know, this man here has done wonderful, wonderful things for himself and for his own family, for the community, for the culture of hip hop, and for the culture of cigars. And I just want to make sure we all give a good shout out. Where can we find you? What's your handles? Where can we get you?
Man, I'm mainly on, you know, you can search me on Instagram primarily. Beyond_smoke. That's where I am. Go to the YouTube. You know, YouTube. Yeah, just search Beyond the Smoke and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button, and follow me on my journey because it's just going to get better.
Is your website too?
Yeah, the website, Beyond Smoke Cigars.
Beyond the Smoke Cigars?
Yeah, check that out too.
Man, you've got a lot of things going on, and I'm sure we look forward to hearing more from you. For the entrepreneurs out there,
Yeah.
for those of us that are watching, just based on, I want to learn and grow from someone who's smarter than me, like you do. Give them three core principles that you can find that will guarantee at least the level of your success.
Utilize the resources that you have at your fingertips. Always be in a position of learning. Utilize with the resources that you have right in front of you. Really be passionate and be sure that whatever it is that you do, that it's really what you want to do, because you're gonna have to really give it 100%. You can't have money deter you. Money is not a deterrent. You know what I mean? You have to have the will to win.
Okay.
If you have the will to win, and you stay focused, you have just a real genuine determination to make something happen, it will happen. And lastly, I would probably say, don't give up, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult.
I was going to say that for those of us who think there's a get-rich-quick scheme out there, or that, wow, you did Beyond the Smoke and you've got 6 episodes, but it's been a long process. So for those of us who wake up to challenges, you know, whether it be financial, family, just the product itself, manufacturing issues or whatnot. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Because you'll never get to the end if you give up.
Yeah.
This Sunday dinner, this episode was talked about maybe a year ago, maybe 6 or 7, 8 months ago. The actual idea of this came as a conversation between you and me.
Yeah.
To do a Sunday dinner, and thoughts become things. I read that. Speaking of reading, how many books did you consume last year, 2018? You think?
Well, I was trying to do a book a month, so I got real close to that. So I would say probably 11 books.
11 books. Do you know Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year?
That's crazy.
Some of the most successful people in our country, in our time, read an extreme amount.
Yeah.
I put down 25 books last year.
Nice.
And I feel so much better for it.
Yeah.
And so to all those out there listening, he didn't get to where he is by not reading. He said 11 books, one a month. One a month. You know, it's doable, right? You find it difficult to find titles that you like. What's your go-to? Your favorite book?
Ooh, my go-to Think and Grow Rich is one of my favorite books. The Secret was also a great book. Anything by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
Is a really good read.
I know you, and I know that you like the book Alchemist.
Huh.
That's not the book that we're reviewing.
Yeah.
But if you want to drop a couple tidbits from that one, for those of them who love to read, why should they pick that particular book up?
Again, it kind of goes hand in hand with Law of Attraction. Keep your eye on the prize, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really just like you said, turning your thoughts into things. It's just probably one of the top 5 books I've ever read in my life.
Alchemist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thoughts become things. I want to give a shout out to the Goods Clothing Company. They are supplying me with this beautiful shirt that also represents using your voice to speak up. To let you know that there's nothing that you can't do. Like you said, thoughts become things. You think it, you speak it out loud, you proclaim it, you own it, and it will be yours. So I really don't have many things more to ask. You've given us a lot to think about. Want to give a special shout out to Pally Wine.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being a dynamic individual. Because if you didn't know, this is a new format. I was going live before, but this is a whole new format, and I want to thank you for being my first guest.
Absolutely, bro.
My man.
Of course.
100 grand. So if you guys want to catch me, I'm Brian DeMar on Instagram. You can catch me at Artisans and Humans on Facebook, and also Sunday Dinner on YouTube. Google me, Brian DeMar. You can Google me. You can find me. I'm SEO. Just sip our wine and finish our cigars.
All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Peace.